everybody. This is Shawn Harwell. You are listening once again to the Never Heard of It podcast. We're doing a mini episode today. That's number 47.5. It feels like we've done a lot more than that, doesn't it? But here we are. I'm joined today, as always, by the man who's been here for all 47.5 of them. And his name is...
Craig Moorhead. And it feels like at least 48.5, I would say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How are you doing, Shawn?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay.
All right. Well, we'll talk to everybody next week then.
All right. No, Shawn, I think we should finish this episode. And as long as everybody's listening, we just want to say, please check us out on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. You can subscribe in iTunes, leave a review if you want to do that. But also, converse if you want to. Suggest some movies. We got a bunch of people suggesting movies and so on, and it's been nice.
It is nice, and in fact, we are doing a suggestion next week. We're watching 1961/63, I think, a movie called Night Tide, starring Dennis Hopper, very, very young Dennis Hopper, in a Navy sailor suit for most of the movie.
And a blonde.
He's very, very, he's like platinum blonde. He looks
very
crazy.
Blonde.
Yeah, that is floating around on YouTube and lots of other places, and suggested by listener Tyler Baum, and we're excited to get into that one. I'll tell you what else I'm excited about still, Craig.
What's that?
That last episode, man. I had fun listening to that again and reliving the experience of watching Amir Kusturica's Time of the Gypsies. Really fantastic movie.
Mm-hmm.
The discussion, I think, was a good one, and hopefully those of you listening to that who haven't seen it will go check it out now, and if you haven't listened to that one, you got something to look forward to, I think.
I think so, too. Great movie. Good talk. What more could you ask for?
Like a cup of water. That's really about it.
Cup of water and a nice warm bed.
Speaking of nice warm beds, let's go to France, shall we?
That's where all the warm beds are, Shawn.
History was made in that Sofia Coppola became only the second female director to win the coveted Best Director prize at the Cannes Film Festival for her remake of the movie The Beguiled that's coming out with Nicole Kidman and Joaquin. Not Joaquin. Why did I say that? Colin Farrell, who I like a lot. I'm sorry, Colin. In this remake of this Civil War set drama, I've seen some of the original. I can't wait to see this one. I think it's got a cool cast and really cool looking vibe, and so excited to hear that she won this award. But I suppose we should acknowledge the fact that, man, that is crazy that this has only happened twice now, and it looks like the first time happened a long time ago in 1961. Soviet filmmaker Yulia Sontseva. And as much as I butchered that, I'm going to get the name of her movie right because this is an amazing title. The Chronicle of Flaming Years. Maybe we should add that to the list because I've never heard of that. Have you?
No, I have not.
Well, Craig, why has it taken this long for no more than two women to win that particular prize?
Well, there are a few reasons, Shawn, and I'll go through them with you.
Okay, let's do them all.
Well, number one, this is only the second Cannes Film Festival in existence. People don't understand that. They had one in 1961.
Wow, okay. Well,
and then they had another one this year. So really, if you look at it that way.
Yeah, okay. I was not looking at it that way. Yeah.
No, I mean, it would certainly seem that this is another symptom of the larger problem. It seems women sort of being held at arm's length away from the industry for one reason or another. I saw sort of a kerfluffle on... do I use that word too much? I feel like I've said that a lot of times on this podcast.
I'm not sure you use it enough.
Maybe not. I'll use it again. I noticed there was a kerfluffle today because... Was it Hollywood Reporter? Who had an article about Patty Jenkins, the director of Wonder Woman, and the way they were advertising it was talking about how it was such a big gamble because she was originally an indie film director. She only has one film under her belt, and now she's doing a big movie.
What's the other movie she did? Was that Winter's Bone or no?
Monster.
Yeah, I like that movie.
I haven't seen that, but that's a dang shame.
Good. Yeah. Charlize, whew. Yeah, she'll haunt your nightmares.
She already does. No, so anyway, there was this vibe that, like, it's a big gamble for them to take on her, and people were sort of pointing out, like, well, when other people, when Trevorrow got Jurassic World, and they were naming some other guys. It was sort of, the vibe was more like, oh, he's this discovery. So it's, so there's kind of this back and forth, and yeah, I feel like it is that kind of thing where it's subtle enough for people to sort of deny, which I think is why it tends to persist as a way of thinking. But yeah, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, to think about how many, I mean, certainly at least Jane Campion's been there a number of times.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I'm very surprised that's true. I hope it changes.
I have to think it will.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's surprising in that I would have assumed that the previous winner was a much more recent filmmaker as far as winning that award. To know that there's been, that long of a drought is kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. And also to know that this is the first I'm hearing of this, that there wasn't more of a deal about it, say in the past 10 years specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how much ink has been spilled about the Oscars too white.
Sure.
And all of the stuff kind of around that particular award show. You would like to think, if the Cannes Film Festival is, Oscars for the world and then like held to probably a higher standard on a critical standpoint.
Yeah.
Boy, you'd like to think that, by now that would have happened. Yeah. So we will see. I think it's progress, obviously. And as far as the Wonder Woman thing, the only reason that I could see you making an argument about the gamble situation is that it does feel like DC and Warner Brothers needs a movie that's just an unabashed audience hit.
Sure.
All the other movies that they've had in that world have made plenty of money. We talked about that before. Mm-hmm. But as far as one that's just like clearly been embraced across the board by fans, yeah, they could use one.
Yeah.
We've talked about it too with Marvel. They've been doing this since day one. So, I don't know that Jon Favreau was a home run for Iron Man, or certainly James Gunn with Guardians and all the other guys that they've been hiring. So, yeah, that's a pretty ridiculous criticism to be making and even to be considering, come on.
Well, yeah, and I think, the Wonder Woman reviews look pretty good. Like, probably the best reviewed DC movie since, the Nolan Batman movies, unless I'm forgetting some stuff. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it'd be nice, like, considering there does seem to be a sort of Hollywood groupthink in terms of, like, having your profit models and all that stuff. Hopefully Wonder Woman makes tons of money and people are like, oh, we need a woman director. That's how we'll make money on the next one, and hopefully, that can kind of help get a bigger foothold in the old industry.
For sure. And I suspect that movie's just going to clean house completely. I think by the time this is dropped, it will have already come out, and we'll know how much money it's made. Probably a lot.
Indeed.
Let's move on a second. Craig, when's the last time you watched the classic 80s vampire fantastic story of the Lost Boys?
I'm not exactly sure, but I can't imagine it was more than 5 years ago. I feel like I see that one a lot.
Yeah, it's been too long for me. I did get excited, though. I saw in the AV Club that there's a new book coming out soon called Lost in the Shadow, the story of the Lost Boys by Paul Davis. Boy, the cover's got a great painting on it. I feel like that would be one that I think would be fun to read about, even though I haven't seen it in a long time, and then just to revisit the movie maybe in tandem with this. It looks like this guy also wrote a book about American Werewolf in London, so he's not new to this. And we'll put that on people's radars, and maybe we'll revisit that when it comes out.
I'm a huge fan of this kind of stuff. I gotta say, a while back there was a big book that came out that was sort of an oral history of the Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah.
And Memories of Crystal Lake, I think it was. And I got that, and that was easily one of the best books I've ever read.
Oh, man.
That was exactly what I wanted. Yeah. I just figured no one would ever write a book like that. Like, you'll never know what happened really behind this. No one cares enough.
Right, yeah.
And then, sure enough, someone did.
There you go.
So, yeah, I would love to dive into these.
Let's talk some trailers, because there were a bunch dumped upon us in recent days that I think are worth mentioning. And we'll go through a couple of these here and try to post some links. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to start actually on the little old television screen, or as we've talked about, probably your laptop or your phone if you're most of the world. Amazon is dropping, and will have dropped by the time this comes out, a nearly 4-hour documentary on the Grateful Dead called Long Strange Trip. I have never, ever, ever considered myself a Deadhead by any capacity. I know very little of their music. I definitely don't consider myself a part of that subculture. And I think obviously those who know me would laugh at the idea of that probably. I'm pretty excited to see some of this. One of the big reasons for me is it is directed by Amir Bar-Lev, who did the Pat Tillman documentary, which was fantastic. He did another documentary called My Kid Can Paint That, which is also really good. And then recently did the Happy Valley documentary about the scandal at Penn State University. I think he's done some music documentaries before, even, I believe, about the Rolling Stones with Scorsese producing. Scorsese produced this as well. What do you think, Craig? Does this appeal to you at all? I don't know of you as a Dead fan, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
Well, I'm an American Beauty fan.
Okay.
Over dinner tonight, I was kind of going through the other albums. And for me, I really realized I really don't know much at all outside of that one album. And but that being said, I think that album's really good from beginning to end. And I did see them live one time.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Do you remember it?
Oh, yeah. I was 100% sober the entire time. So I definitely didn't get the entire experience.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, looking at this trailer for it, it looks really interesting. Like it doesn't look like just like it's just for Deadheads. Like it looks like it's interesting no matter what. Like it feels like they're gonna really kind of dive into what this was all about. And it's the Grateful Dead are a phenomenon. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible what has sort of gone on with them. And so I don't know. I'm real interested to see that, where that story goes.
I like this trend, and I haven't watched the OJ documentary that was like 5 hours long, but clearly it had a lot of fans and got a lot of critical praise. And I like the idea that somebody's willing to let a filmmaker spend 4 hours telling this story. And I feel like this surely would be one that would warrant such a length. Because, you're talking about decades now of influence and followers. I'm curious to see just, too, how kind of like the rest of the culture and just the era and then, politics and all that stuff just intertwined with the Dead. Because I imagine it did in 1,000 ways that I don't even know about,
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Another thing that's kind of interesting and also a bit of a look back, I had no idea this was happening at all, but there's a teaser out now for a show coming to HBO called The Deuce. And that's not about actually taking a dump.
Oh, I'm disappointed.
No. James Franco starring David Simon of The Wire, George Pelecanos, detective writer also involved in The Wire, and Treme created this thing about the legalization and rise of the porn industry in Times Square in the 70s through the 80s. That's super specific. I would be incredibly dubious about the long-term success of such a series were not those guys involved. And I'll be the first to admit I have not seen all of The Wire, but yeah, the first season was amazing, and I just watched it recently.
Right.
It feels like right material for those two guys specifically to dig in and do right. What do you think? I mean, the teaser isn't really giving us much. I don't know anybody else in the rest of the cast. We keep talking about Franco. We're fans, obviously. So, I think this could be an interesting role for him.
Yeah, honestly, I think the visuals looked amazing. And then seeing the people who are behind it, the fact that it's on HBO, I was on board without needing to know any more than that. James Franco, well, it's interesting. I mean, honestly, like the stuff that we've talked about here and the movie we watched and all that stuff, that's actually gotten me more interested in the stuff that he does. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just totally looking forward to it.
And I wonder if it can find an audience because, as we've seen, Vinyl didn't make it. Yeah, that had Scorsese behind it. It had the period thing going on. Your show, The Get Down, which I still haven't seen, that's not getting a second season either on Netflix. So, I don't know. These big period pieces, we'll see if this one can find an audience. I kind of hope it will. Maybe the porn factor might help it, or I don't know. It could go the other way.
Hope that there's lots of porn in it.
All right, let's flip to the movie side real quick, and we'll blast through a couple of these here. But I think the big one to talk about here is this Murder on the Orient Express trailer.
Agreed.
I had also no idea that this was happening. I'm pretty interested. Sad to say, I don't know that I've ever seen all of the Lumet version, and I love Sidney Lumet. Like, he's one of my absolute favorite filmmakers. Are you familiar with the original? And there's two originals, but that I think is the most well-known one.
No, haven't seen it, haven't read it, no idea. That is unusual because I like Lumet a lot, and I mean, Agatha Christie mystery is always entertaining in some way or another, so I'm not sure exactly why. But let me ask you something. I just watched this trailer. Looks beautiful, pretty incredible cast. Did you find anything in it that seemed out of place?
Music, for sure.
Thank you.
And I thought the POV shot, it's kind of introducing us to these characters, was a little odd. And it's extended. And so, there's little things that make me wonder what the real movie is going to be like. And if there is like this crazy bit of stylistic POV thing, that would be interesting. But I also have to admit, it made me think about the Clue movie. And I'm kind of excited. Like, just a sheer who done it? Somebody died. You're all suspects because you're on this train. That's a classically amazing premise and a setup. So I feel like it's been a while since there's this kind of like ensemble whodunit of this ilk. So in that regard, I might be willing to just forgive things like I can't imagine that music is actually in the movie like in that way.
I really hope not. It doesn't make any sense for the story. And I mean, it being it's a Kenneth Branagh movie, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of surprised to see essentially no humor really here. Like, it seems deadly serious. And I'd be very surprised if the movie was that way, because I feel like he usually has a pretty great little thread of humor in his movies. But I'm still totally on board for that.
Craig, let's wrap this up by once again, we got to talk about Get Out, because I finally saw the Jordan Peele movie.
All right. I'm proud of you. What did you think?
I liked it. How isn't that crazy?
That's very unusual.
It was really good. Now, Craig, here's what I want to talk about, though.
Yeah.
If you have not seen this movie and do not want the ending spoiled, it's the last thing we're going to talk about. So go ahead. You can wish us goodbye and come back to this sometime down the road. If you have seen this, stick around, because I rented this movie from Amazon, and it included an alternate ending. Do you know about this alternate ending, Craig?
I don't.
So in the theatrical version, all the shit goes down. There's some violence, some killings, and our man kills the girl from Girls. She's smiling as she's being choked because there's a police car coming. And then we have the amazing TSA character who comes out of the police car to get his friend the hell out of there. I loved that ending. Yeah. I loved that character so much. I could not wait to see him again, and did not expect to see him again like that. I thought it was perfect. Now, and
let me just interrupt right here. Let me just interrupt for 1 second.
Yeah.
At that point in the movie, what did you think was going to happen?
Okay, when the police car showed up, I thought it was going to be that cop that had pulled them over on the way to her parents' house and asked for his ID. And I thought it was not going to end well. I thought he was probably going to get shot.
I am very much the same. I assume best case scenario, he's going to prison and will be thought of as a murderer, as somebody who went crazy. Like, I was convinced there was no way he was getting out of that, which just made that ending a million times better.
That's exactly what happened when the original version that they shot.
Really?
Police car pulls up, the doors open. It's two cops that get out. I don't think it's the same one that pulled him over. He raises his hands. He goes to jail. It cuts forward to sometime later. The TSA guy comes to visit him, and he's having the conversation. And basically, our hero tells his friend, it's time to give up. Like, I'm not getting out. Like, this is what it looks like. This is what happens to people in this situation. And, clearly making a commentary on... And actually, it was interesting because this ending did have commentary on it. And Jordan Peele was talking about that at the time that he wrote this, and still, that would be the logical ending. That is what would happen to that guy. He would certainly be pinned for that crime, and those deaths, and he would go to jail forever. But then he said that a lot happened in the world, and I think referencing Ferguson specifically, that he got the sense that the audience needed a break at the ending there. They needed some relief, and they needed the hero to get away. and that's what prompted that new version. And I got to say, like, endings are hard. Usually when you hear about alternate endings, it's because the hand was forced into providing a happy ending that's lame. Here, I think it was the right choice, and I think it was his choice, maybe, ultimately.
Yeah.
He did not seem to bemoan having reshot the ending. And, it was really interesting.
That is funny.
If you want to see what you thought was going to happen, go rent the movie or check out the Blu-ray. I'm sure it will be on there. And, it's a fascinating flick. And, I think both endings have a lot of validity to them for that specific reason. I would love to hear the rest of the commentary. I think that would actually be a really, really interesting one.
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
Whew, Craig. I think we should wrap it up. As always, everybody, thanks for listening. Go check out our website, make suggestions, and come back next time. We're going to talk about Night Tide, and then we'll be back with another mini.
Sounds good. Shawn, you got any words of wisdom for us tonight?
Be careful when visiting your girlfriend's parents. That was my takeaway from Get Out, by the way.
Good call. Yeah, I think that was the message in general.
Yeah. That's it. Just be careful.
Yeah, just be careful about everything.
All right, guys, be safe.
Bye-bye.